but like, I don't know. I mean, we can take this any way you want, but like, I did have a curious question because I do get this every once in a while. I'll get somebody that wants to start an ABA company, and that they either are partnering with a BCBA or they're the BCBA themselves, and they're like, should I just find a small company and buy it to kind of get started, or should I do my own thing and just start from the ground up? And I'm just curious of, like, as you're doing so much ABA buying and selling, do you see that a lot, like a startup trying to get a head start? Like, do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to step back quickly to touch on the last thing April said, we have owners ask us all the time, hey, when do I need to start preparing if I want to sell in X number of years or X number of months? And the printed on a t-shirt answer that we give is the time to start preparing is when you start the business, right? And so, starting with the end in mind is critical, because you make so many decisions as a business owner every day, right? That's kind of the name of the game, right? And so, but those macro choices that you make on how you structure your business and how you build your team and incentive structures and growth initiatives and care models, all of those things are so, all of them have an M&A implication, right? Like you said, Stephen, it's a, when you sell a house, you're selling something that's fixed, right? Something that is what it is, a tangible asset. Your business is a living, breathing, operating organism that is comprised of people and factors and trends. And so that's why we built our firm the way we have, right? And it's focused around, being able to synthesize all of that information, and anybody out there can go Google search the top 5 ABA providers in the country and send them an email. That's so far from what we do. I think, our team is built in such a way that for some people, transacting to those larger organizations is the right move, right?
Sure.
For others, and I'll segue here into what you brought up second there, Stephen. For others, working with somebody that's more on the come up, more just starting to figure out how they want to go about starting their own agency, a smaller, more nuanced acquirer or partner is better, right? For me, that's a really personal choice, and I think how I view that from a business owner standpoint is, hey, it's my job as an advisor to show you all the options, and it's your job to choose what you think is best for you. Right. So, we're going to involve the people we think are pertinent and are going to create the valuation and accomplish the goals, even outside of valuation, that our client has. Right. So to answer your question, Steve, we absolutely have done deals. We did a transaction a few years back that was a clinician got an SBA loan and just bought a business. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that in terms of making that choice as you're looking to get into the space, you have to look at really two things. First is your marketplace, right? How fragmented is your marketplace? What are your competitive obstacles to growing? If there's a huge market opportunity and not a whole lot of participants, you may be better off starting from scratch, right? However, in some of those bigger metro markets where you got a lot of competition, the need is great because the need's great everywhere, with autism rates tripling over the last 20 years. But competition is also really, really stifling. And so with that, I think as folks are looking to provide that service, it's first and foremost to look at the market that you're in and an appraisal of, hey, is there a company that I think does it really well that I could add a lot of value to, right? And some of that's monetary, but some of that is, hey, I have a network, I know so-and-so, I have a skill set that I don't think this agency is really fully utilizing, and I'm going to go provide that. I'm going to go fill that need. The best partnerships come from meeting need, right?
Sure.
Sometimes that is money, but sometimes it's not as well, right? So those are the things we talk about with business owners as they're thinking, hey, who's my best fit?
Like I when someone asks me that question, I'll be honest. Like it's like, do you want someone else's problems, right? Because that's normally what you're buying a lot of things, and some of those are going to be problems. So I my typical go to on that was just build it yourself, right? But I mean, you do add some really good points to consider as you're doing this, right? Like, so yeah. And going back to that exit strategy, I didn't mean to cut that one off, but knowing what that looks like at the end, right? How big, like how much money you need for retirement. Like you said, this for a lot of people is kind of, they're putting all their eggs in one basket. So knowing what they need, certainly we can reverse engineer that so we know how quickly we need to grow and the pitfalls that we have, right? And there's also turnover rate that we need to worry about, especially when you're aggressively growing. The burnout rate in this field seems insane. So knowing all of that can certainly help guide you where to go.
Yeah, and build your team, right? I think that's the biggest, that's the biggest advice I give people. At the end of the day, what we hear from buyers all the time is, as much as I'm buying this business, I'm buying, the team, right? I'm buying the culture at the business. I'm buying the leadership. I'm buying the clinicians, right? The biggest, one of the largest factors that doesn't get enough airtime is what ultimately is going to earn an agency the reputation that makes it transactable is the quality of care that's being provided, right? And that comes from the clinicians, that comes from the BCBAs, the RBTs, and that we talk about that a lot. If a talent people is not where you want to see them, right? You want your staff to really put the best face on your brand that there is, and as you're building, especially in the early stages, finding the right leadership to partner with you. A lot of the exercise we do for valuation is a conversation with business owners of, hey, the business is really just you, right? Mm-hmm. If you step out, if you hop on a plane and go to Mexico for a month, right? The show stops, right? The train stops, nobody's moving, right? So, that for the best possible transaction partnership outcome, that can't be the case, right? Yeah. So a lot of what I love doing is working with owners on, okay, that's easier said than done, Alex, right? Where are my opportunities to who should I hire? What roles should I source for? And then how do we create incentive aligned structures that gives me the peace of mind that whoever I put in that seat, gets incentivized the way I'm incentivized, right? And so we love having those conversations as well. I think that's a big part of truly being ready for that step.
Yeah, I think a lot of growers have that, right? Like, and we talk to so many growers and they're maybe 2 or 3 years in and they're working 60, 70 hours a week and they think, oh, my company's super profitable and everything's going great. But like, okay, can you take a weekend off? Can you take 3 days off, right? And if the answer to that is no, right? And then this isn't as sellable as you may think it is, right? And if you decide to leave, right, like, okay, I'll stay on for 6 months, but then the owner has to, or the new owner has to take over. If that person has to hire 2 of you to take over your position, then this isn't as profitable as you think it is, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a big difference in being really great at what you do and building a really great agency that's great at what you do, right? Yeah. And so, we see a lot of that where, we get on the phone with these business owners and it comes from a place of passion, right? And so it comes from genuinely thinking, hey, I got to make sure this is done the right way. My father and I are have grown Agenda from scratch, and so I personally know what that's like to kind of have the name on your chest, right? And the ownership centric mindset that comes with that, and the best entrepreneurs have that. And I think the second stage of that is being able to recognize, hey, I do a lot of things really well, but if I do everything, the business isn't a business, right? It's me through a different avenue, right? Yeah. So I need to go find some other people that do some of this other stuff really well, so I can focus on what's going to be best for the business, right? Yeah. And that's where true growth is unlocked in our experience.